Okay, so this is the first part of a series that I'm going to start, and this is just basics, intro to SolidWorks, hobbyists. Maybe you're a freshman in college and you're taking this and you're just kind of a little lost. It's easy to do. Excuse me. So basically what I want to do is go through all of the functions, features, all that good stuff as we go into SolidWorks. Little intro. I'm going to bring over this real quick. So just to start off, what is CAD? You probably know what it is if you looked up this video, but it's computer automated design. Lots of different options, like with software, Creo, I think Pro E is of the past, I'm not sure, NX, stuff like that. We're going to be doing SolidWorks on this one because it's one of my favorites. Downsides of SolidWorks is that it's really, really good for parts and stuff, but assemblies, it's okay when compared to other softwares. It's mostly used for manufacturing. That's why you have your CAD CAM stuff. That's a pretty big part of SolidWorks. It's a to me, it's a really user-friendly option though. So if you're just getting started, it's a great one to learn on. And then we'll go over just the basics today. So if you don't have SolidWorks, you can either, let me pull this over. You can either do this route, or if you're a student, or if you just have a student email or something, the price has actually doubled. It used to be 20 bucks. 50 bucks a year, which is honestly pretty good. Or actually, 100 bucks, I guess. Military can get it for pretty cheap, and so you just download it, and then this is what I'm using. So if you download this student edition here, it's the same as the veteran deal. The hobbyists, see, I think I don't know, pricing's different, but it's just you need a license to download it on your laptop or your PC or whatever you're using. I wouldn't run it on Mac because I've just been told I don't even know if it will download. But anyway, when you first come into SolidWorks, you'll see this screen pop up. And basically, you're always going to just want to click Part. So that's where I'm at now. You click Part, and I'm not sure if anything else pops up. I don't remember. But you come into here. And basically, what this is that we're looking at is a three-dimensional space. I just hit the space bar right there. That's all I did. And then my scroll is not working. That's not good. Give me 1 second. I may have deactivated that or something. Oh, you know what? Oh, no, you just can't scroll when you're in here. So, my bad. I guess we learn something every day. So, if I had a part in here, I could click on this and look at different views. But we'll get into that later. So, essentially, you have your different planes, and you can rename these. Rename item tree, whatever. I keep them pretty much where they're at, and it's good to remember that these exist because as you get into modeling, it's really easy to dimension and things off of here. So basically, let's just get something on the three-dimensional space, right? So I'm going to go to Sketch, click this button here, and it's asking me, anytime you see this yellow box or anything kind of like it, it's asking you a question. So it's saying, hey, where do you want to sketch? And so I can click any of these, and if I click this top plane, you see it kind of rotates towards you, and now I am sketching normal to the top plane. And all we're going to do right now is take a circle. You have all your different, there's a line, center line is basically, it's just there if you need to reference it or anything like that. When you make a feature, a center line will not show up. I don't really use midpoint line, basically just line and then circle, perimeter circle. We'll get into that. Just use the normal circle for now. Spline tool is really handy. We'll get into that. Different kind of rectangles if you want to start in the middle and go out. This one's kind of handy, but then you have these relations, which are the dotted lines, which we can get into a little later. I prefer corner rectangle, and then that's probably all we're going to go over for right now. So let's do corner rectangle. The disadvantage is that it's offset from the origin, so it's not symmetrical of the origin, but I like it because it's basically free of constraints. What I mean by that is if I were to do the center rectangle, and then here, you see all these restrictions or constraints saying this is coincident with this, this is equal to this, all sorts of stuff. And so if you wanted to make this, I mean, it's handy if you want everything to be kind of in line with itself. But anyway, what you can do now is you say, I'll just get into the dimensioning. This is called your smart dimension. Well, dimensioning in general. I just do smart dimension, and you just click the line, and you click again, and it says, hey, how long do you want that? We'll do 5 inches. And then this side, I'll show you a neat little trick. If you just want it to all be equal, you just click here. I'm holding down Control, and then I'm going to click this line, and then over here you have your relations. So you can say I want this to be horizontal, I want it to be vertical, collinear, which is basically exists in the same space, perpendicular, which is probably what we're going to choose here. Well, actually, it's already perpendicular because it has these relations inside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit equal. So now I don't have to put 5 inches on each of these lines. And then I'll show you what happens if you do. It says, oh, it popped up in the other window here. You get a driven dimension. I don't know why it's not letting you read the whole thing. But basically, if this pops up and it turns yellow, it's saying we know what that is, or the software knows what that is. You don't need it. And when you get into complex edges and curves and stuff like that, not even complex, just when you get multiple and you're trying to like kind of make something out of nothing, which is essentially what the software does, it'll get kind of irritating. But this is what we want before we move to the next step. You want to get something fully defined. And something that I've learned teaching this to not a bunch of people, but a certain amount of people, is you got to learn how to hover over stuff. So if and right now look at my mouse, it has the smart dimension tool. I'm just going to hit escape, because if I were to click on that with the smart dimension, it's going to want to dimension it. So just hit escape to get out. But now I can click that line and it's not trying to dimension it, and I can change things on it. But the main thing you need to learn how to do in this software, so okay, scroll up is out, zooming in and out, so that's how you move around. And then if I want to rotate this, I click my mouse wheel and just pull and drag. And if you want to move it on the same plane, that like as you're looking at it, you hold Control, press the mouse wheel, and you can move it around without it rotating. And then we're going to go back to where I did what I did in the beginning, spacebar, and then I can say, hey, I want to look at this thing straight on, or hey, I want to look at what's called isometric. So it's going to show me in the isometric view. And these are handy when you're trying to move things around and you want to be speedy with it. A lot of people like their quick keys, but I normally just keep it pretty simple. So the next step here, once we have our fully defined sketch, is we're going to go back to features, and we're going to say extrude boss base. And this is our third dimension. As you can see, anything that's in yellow right here in the shape is a preview. So it's saying blind, which is saying I'm going to go in this direction as far as you want me to, which is what we're going to do for now. That's the simplest way. So I'm just going to say we're going to make it a perfect little 5-inch cube. So 5 inches, boom. Now we have this cube. And then what should we go? This is a handy tool that you need to be careful with if you're 3D printing, because it's called, I know it looks like fillet, but it's pronounced fillet. Oh, I hate this Grammarly thing. Hold on, let me get out of that. Okay, we pronounce it as fillet, and I think that's just to make a distinction between the entree or the cut of fish and the round feature in CAD. A lot of other softwares just call it a round, so I don't know what SolidWorks is doing, but yeah, so this is a handy feature. If you're just trying to break a corner or something, you can also use a chamfer. Same kind of deal. It's just flat. The reason I say you need to be careful of this in 3D printing is because it's 3D printing is additive manufacturing, which is CNC, which is computer numeric controlled. And so a circle or a round is not actually a circle and a round. It's a series of really small steps and ledges. So this is going to be kind of hard to print if you put a really small round in there. But where it can help you is if you're trying to reduce print time. Obviously, it's easier to kind of make a smoother path, but that's we'll get into that later. So it looks really nice when you do these, and I've seen a lot of engineers get really carried away with rounds, and because it looks nice in the model, and it technically does uh, get away from force concentrations in corners, so it's a good way to do that. But it adds complication to the manufacturing process, so try to be wary with that. But the next thing that we're going to go into is this is a handy thing too. So now I don't have to pick a plane to sketch on like we did in the beginning. I can sketch on a plane or surface. So at the beginning, it was just an existing sketch entity. But now we can do a plane, planar surface, or planar face, excuse me, or the edge. So we're going to click this top face here, and then I like to just make that normal to me. And this is your origin. If you remember math or algebra, you have your X and your Y, and over here it tells you which way you're looking. So it helps you kind of keep oriented if that's how your brain works. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a circle. And watch your hover. So if I wanted this to be dead in the middle, but not quite on top of the origin, right? It's going to give me these lines that's saying, hey, if you click here, it's going to be in line with this axis. And you can notice if you can look at my pencil, it's not directly on the line right now, but that's why I like it. I say that it's like user friendly because it's trying to help you do your best here. So you don't have to be exactly where you need to be, and it's pretty much guessing what you want. So I'm going to put a circle right here. I'm going to hit escape, and then I want it to stay right there. So this isn't going to add the relation for me. It's not going to say, hey, this is on this line. But if I wanted it to, see how that's blue? It's a cross hatch, and then I click it and it's light blue. That means that is a selected point. So then I can hold the control button, press the origin, and then I can say, hey, you need to stay on the horizontal. So now if I move this up and down, it doesn't go up and down, or up plus or minus Z, I guess. But I can move it on this axis, which is handy because then if you know it needs to be in line with something, but you don't know where, that's a handy thing to use. So again, we're going to do smart dimension. And this is a fancy thing that I really like too, is you can do math inside these boxes. So there's functions and whatever, but say, I know I'm the kind of guy that will use a calculator for really simple math just because I got other things to worry about, okay? So if I know the radius of something that I want, or say you're reverse engineering something or whatever, you know it needs to be 2 times 8 divided by, let's do 3, something funky. Obviously that's too big, but you can do math in there. So what we're going to do is just do 1, just to have something on there. And then I want to show you something. You can carry out a cut. So a base and a boss and a cut are essentially the opposite, right? So you can carry out a function without it being fully defined. But then just know, if you try to reference this circle for anything to do something else, and then you change the circle, everything else will change as well. So that kind of happens whether or not it is fully defined or undefined, but just know it's better to have things fully defined. It just makes your life a lot easier. But so I will cancel out of this extrude. And I guess I skipped a step because I forget that it's easy to do. So in this, in this boss extrude, we have the sketch. So if you want to change the feature, so just the third dimension here of adding the material, I'm going to click edit feature, and then you can change how big your box is extruded, right? So I'm going to keep that actually the same. But if you want to change the definition of the original shape, then you just click this handy dandy thing here, or you can just click the sketch. It doesn't matter. But you can just say add a sketch. And then I'm going to show you something real quick. If you double click, you can change the name as well. If you see me kind of flopping around on stuff, I don't do SolidWorks for work. I do Creo. So there's things that are different. So I apologize if that's confusing anybody. Also, if you have questions or I missed anything that you are specifically struggling on, do not hesitate to to message me on email or in the comments or whatever, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, now we have a fully defined sketch there. I'm going to extrude this, and here, say you don't want this to go, well, first off, you can do blind, and right now it's just trying to assume that you're going to want the hole to go through the entire thing. But say you want it to go, so blind, if you know the depth, you say I want this to be a 2-inch hole. There you go. Type in your 2 inches, and it will extrude this to 2 inches. If you don't want to type anything, you just say through all, and it will only extrude, or it'll extrude through everything that is associated with that feature. Through all both, it's just both ways. If you were sketching on a mid plane, so say we put a plane right here, which I'll show you how to do in a little bit. Put a plane right here, put a sketch, and you needed to go both ways, you can do that. Up to next, so say there's like a ledge that comes out right here, and you don't want to do any math, you just say, hey, I want to go to here, not here, because then it'll ask you, what surface would you like to go up to? So you can do a surface or a line, and it'll do it. But right now, we're just going to do, we'll do blind 2 inches. So now we have a box with a hole in it. Congratulations. The next thing I want to show you that's pretty handy is a mirror function that is super handy to have. But one thing that we're going to notice, oh no, we set up our right plane. So let's say you want this hole to be right here and we don't have the right plane, right? Back on out of here, references, plane, and then you got to, this tool gets funky, so don't get too frustrated if it is giving you issues. So you can do an offset. So see, that's a 1/10 of an inch offset from that surface. But if you just click this surface and then you come down here and make sure it's highlighted in second reference and you click the second surface, it will automatically place your plane in between those two surfaces. Super handy. And then you can also do perpendicular, parallel, degree offset. I try to stay away from that because it gets frustrating. So we'll set the plane, and then it's already highlighted, so then I can just go into my, I can just actually, it's already set right here, mirror, plane 1. This is the plane of which we are mirroring, and then it's going to say, hey, what do you want to mirror? You can either click, or you can come in here and click extrude. And the only reason you would do that, or it's good to have options, because if it's a really complicated part and you can't really click it that easily, it's good to be able to come to your feature tree and be like, okay, this is exactly what I want. And notice as soon as I did that, I said features, boom, clicked it, and it says, hey, you are about to cut a hole right here, from here to here. That's what it's saying. So if I just click OK, I now have 2 holes, and I didn't have to go through all that work. But now notice, if I come up in here, and this is where this is handy and also not always the best, depending on what you're trying to do. If I come in here and I change either of these values, it will change both of them. So if you need things to be independent from each other, oh, this is also your best friend, undo button. So if you need things to be independent from each other, don't mirror them, because you can't, well, I'm not sure how to break them away from each other once you've mirrored them. I don't think you can. So just know it's handy to do, but just make sure they don't need to run independent from each other. So now what I want to show you is the spline tool. I really like the spline tool, but no, it's not going to be as precise. But say you want to do something like like a curve, and you don't know the exact radius at each point, and you don't want to do any math, you can just come in here and click around. And notice, so when I click, it then follows my mouse. And if I want to set it right here, then it follows mouse again. And then you have to reattach. I mean, you don't have to reattach it, but if you want to do something with it, you have to have a closed surface. So if I did something that was open, you wouldn't be able to cut or extrude this as a feature. And that goes with anything. If it doesn't have a profile, then it won't allow you to do anything. So this is handy because you can bring pictures into SolidWorks and lay them on a plane, and then you can sketch over them, and then say you want to 3D print something, and it doesn't need to be super precise or whatever. You can just do a spline, and the more points you have, the better it will be, as in that's like how pixels work, like the more pixels, the clearer the picture. So then we can come over here and let's extrude this just a touch. Okay, so now we have our, looks like a sorting hat kind of deal. I'll show you what this chamfer looks like just so we have a cool shape. Oh, also, first thing, you can just click this surface and it'll chamfer all the edges. I know the last time on the fillet I clicked all the edges, but you can also do this and then it'll fillet all those. Or if you want to chamfer a hole real quick, there you go. Notice that was not mirrored. If you want that to be mirrored, you need to do that before you mirror, and it will be included into that change. So now what I want to do is show you how to use this revolved boss base thing here. This is pretty cool. So I'm gonna do just a little deal here. I'm just building a little, I'm gonna make this basically look like a lollipop. So now if I want to make a sphere on the top of this, I would go to sketch, pick my surface, which I want to be in the middle, and then you have to do basically a half circle. If you do a full circle, it won't let you do the profile because it runs into an error, which is obvious once you start understanding what the software wants. But at the beginning, it gets frustrating. But now I'm going to use a center line, and this honestly can be anywhere. I like to keep it nice and tidy just because. So I'm going to do a center line from the top down to the bottom there. It could literally only be like a fraction of an inch right here, and it'll be fine for what we're about to do. But revolve base, and it's saying, so it figures out what you want. But here, axis of revolution, you're going to want to click your line, or if something already exists, or I could have just clicked this profile here of this circular deal, and it would also work. But you can also, you can do a half sphere or a quarter sphere or whatever you would like to do. I'm going to do a half sphere just so I can show you something else here in a little bit. And so, yeah, super handy. Click the profile, go around, say, yep, that's what I want. And then what I want to show you guys is this feature. This is a very handy feature. We're going to do this. So this is the shell features, and this is the thickness of your shell. I'm just going to do this real quick and show you what it does. So basically what the shell feature does is you click on a surface and you say the thickness. So say you want to make a open-ended box, which is essentially what I just did. I'm going to click that, and it's going to follow all the features and be offset 1/10 of an inch from those features. So the wall thickness of this cylinder right here is 1/10 of an inch because it took everything on the inside, took everything on the inside and just went around it and gave it a thickness. So that's very handy to do if you want to quickly make a sheet metal part, because then you can convert it to sheet metal, which will be another video. And then, so yeah, you can do a quick little shell, so you don't have to, do an extrude and then do kind of weird stuff. But say you needed, I don't know, say you needed to look in here for whatever reason and do something with epoxy. Say you wanted to fill this with resin, so you could put glitter in there or whatever. You could do that. That was a really weird example. Oh, also, it has not been saved for a while, so you're going to want to save it. I'm going to do video 1 part. Save it to my desktop. And here, real quick, this is a good way to go over this. You can save it as whatever you want. SolidWorks is very good about cross-referencing stuff. So if you're 3D printing, normally it should be STEP or STL or DWG or DXF if you're doing like plasma cutting, which I think they're all pretty good about slicing, or the software's crossover and such. But for now, just do SolidWorks part. It's pretty good to just keep it all like that. And then yeah, so I'm going to try to keep these videos short and sweet. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.